Hi there, my name is Stephen Isaacs. I'm the coordinator of the Indian Nations Gaming and Governance Program at the William S. Wood School of Law at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I'm here today with Dr. Sondra Cosgrove. She's from the College of Southern Nevada, and Dr. Cosgrove will educate us about our voting rights and what to do to vote the day of Election Day or early voting as well. Dr. Cosgrove, please take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm a history professor over at the College of Southern Nevada. And then I have a small nonprofit called Vote Nevada, which I just do a lot of public civics education. So we're getting really close to early voting. We're about a week out. October 19th is the first day. And I know lots of people are getting their sample ballot and their mail-in ballot in the mail. But I want to make sure that people know how to use that sample ballot. So I'm going to do a really short PowerPoint presentation just to kind of walk through all the awesome things that are in that sample ballot. Okay, so let me go ahead and hide. That floater's going on there. All right. So as Stephen mentioned, this is a collaboration between Vote Nevada and the UNLV Indian Nations Gaming and Governance Office. What we're going to look at is kind of just generally what's in your sample ballot so that you know how to use it when you're ready to vote. When your sample ballot arrives, this is what it will look like with our awesome I voted sticker at the top. That in and of itself is worth voting for because we have the best sticker. So you want to make sure you get that. And it also comes with your mail-in ballot. So if you're using your mail-in ballot, you still get to have an awesome sticker. But notice here, it has really important information. Early voting, October 19th to November 1st. And then election day is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. On early voting, in your sample ballot, it lists all the different sites, the days those early voting sites are open, and the times that they're open. We have a couple of sites that stay open 24 hours to help shift workers. So you'll just need to find the one that you want to go to, and you can go to any of them. So maybe it's the one closest to your work. Maybe it's the one closest to your kid's school. Maybe it's the one closest to your house. We have vote centers, so you can go to any of them. On election day, though, you have to be in line by 7 p.m. It always makes me nervous when people wait until that last hour. So I always advise people early vote. Just make sure you get it out of the way. And then right at the bottom, that's the Clark County Elections Department website. Lots of useful information there. And then a phone number you can call if you have questions. So on the very second page of your sample ballot, it has all the important dates broken down for you, because there are days where if you, like right now, went and registered to vote online, you would still qualify to get a mail-in ballot. But there's going to come a date where if you register online in that date, which I think is October 17th, you will need to vote in person. So just make sure, depending on which way you want to vote, that you get in the online voter registration account, which I'll show you how to do, and register to vote. You will see this warning sign, do not freak out. This is just reminding people, don't use your mail-in ballot and vote in person. You will be in trouble because that's voting twice. So if you're voting in person, you will want to surrender your mail-in ballot when you go to check in to vote in person. Or if you're voting through mail, just don't go to one of the vote centers to vote there. You only get to vote one time. You just get to pick which one you want to do. There is really good information here on how to use the mail-in ballot. It tells you about how you're supposed to put it together, what you're supposed to do when you sign on the outside. Please, if you're doing mail-in voting, follow this information and these instructions carefully, because between our presidential preference primary and our regular June primary, we threw out over 10,000 ballots because of signature problems. The signature did not match. The registrar's office couldn't get a hold of the voter, and we threw those ballots out. That's a lot of ballots. So just make sure you clearly and carefully follow these instructions if you're going to do mail-in voting. Also, if you do the mail-in ballot, you can either pop it right into the mailbox, or you can take it to any of the vote centers, walk in, and they will have a lockbox that you can put your mail-in ballot, and then that way you know it's in the hands of the registrar. So you can do it either way, and it's postmark paid. So if you put it into any mailbox, the Postal Service will deliver it. Here is a picture of what the mail-in ballot envelope looks like. See where it says Louis E. Palm? That's where you're going to sign. That's where we have the most problems, because if you don't sign the same way you signed your driver's license or DMV ID, the machine will not count your ballot. It'll say this doesn't match. We need to contact this person and verify this is their ballot. So if you're going to do mail-in voting, look at your driver's license or your DMV issued ID, maybe take a picture of it and enlarge what the signature looks like. That's how you need to sign, because that's the signature that's on record with the elections department. If you registered and did not use an ID or a driver's license from the DMV, what you're going to need to do is to go to this website. It's registertovote.nv.gov and click on Update My Existing Voter Registration. When you log in, the first page is going to show you whether you have contact information on record with the elections department. Please put a cell number or an email address there so they can get a hold of you if there's a problem with your ballot. But as you click through those pages and you're verifying everything's correct, the very last page says, is this your signature? And it's nice and big and it's easy to see. That's the way you need to sign. So if you're doing the mail-in ballot and you're going to need to sign, please go to this website, click on Update My Existing Voter Registration, click through the pages to the end, and you will see your signature exactly the way you need to sign. And then that way, you're probably 99.9% sure it's going to get counted. But if you also put an email address or a cell phone number, if there's any problem, let's say you drop it in the mail and it gets ripped, and they have to get a hold of Stephen and say, Stephen, your ballot is ripped. We need to take care of you, hon. That way they can call him or email him and he'll be good. So just make sure to do that. If you're like me and you like to vote in person on the machines, they also have instructions for that. You will walk in, there will be a happy smiling person sitting there. You'll check in, you will sign on what's called the poll book, which is like the way you sign when you use a credit card at the department store or the grocery store. They will then hand you either a white or yellow card and point you in the direction of somebody standing by the machines. That person will take that card, see right there where it says vote, put it in the machine, and then it recognizes you and the races that are on your ballot. And then it's just like a giant iPad. It'll have the candidates, you touch the screen, a check mark shows up, you go through each page. When you get to the end, it will show you the whole ballot and every single way that you voted. If there's something wrong where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake, you just make a change and you go back. And then you get to the very end and you'll say, are you ready for review? Print review. Yes. Then there's this little machine, a little printer sitting next to you, and it prints every race that you participated in and what you selected. And you look to make sure it's all right. And if it's correct, then you say, yes, I'm ready to cast my vote. You touch that button, your vote is counted, the little card pops out, you walk over, you deposit it into a little box, and they give you a snazzy sticker. But that information is right here so that you will know exactly what to do when you arrive to vote in person. The other thing that's really useful in this sample ballot is all of the 7 ballot questions that we will have this year are not only listed with a summary, they have nice explanations. It tells you what happens if you vote yes. It tells you what happens if you vote no. It has argument for passage, argument against passage, whether this ballot question has a fiscal note, is it going to cost any money? All that information is in that sample ballot. So if you're looking at your mail-in ballot and you're thinking whether you're using that or voting in person, you have enough time to do 1 ballot question a day to do all of your research this way. And I'm telling my students, do your research this way, pay no attention to the ads that are out there. Pretty much they're all lying. Every one of them is either omitting things or they're just flat out telling you incorrect things. Just ignore that. All the information you need is in your sample ballot. So all 7 ballot questions are in your sample ballot. And then when you're done looking at your sample ballot is all the pages that tell you where the vote centers are. And there's about 5 pages. So you just need to find some place that's near where you're going to want to vote, put a big circle around it, highlight it, put it on your calendar. And there are so many vote centers, rarely is there a line. I usually show up, I walk in, I vote, I walk right out, 15 minutes. So it's super easy, super efficient. And then the very last page has email address, a place you can go to, phone numbers, the elections department website, QR code with that information right there in case you need to ask a question. And again, so this is my contact information. And if you need to, you can go to my blog where I also have links to the information that I just showed you in that sample ballot. So I'm going to stop share so I can then see Stephen and we can chat. But that is a very useful document that's going to get sent to everybody.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Cosgrove. So everything that was in that PowerPoint is included within the sample ballot.
That's correct, because I get my sample ballot as a PDF file. So I always have it on my phone wherever I'm at. But then it's nice because I was able just to pull my ballot up and do screenshots and then put it right there on that PowerPoint.
This is very great. Thank you. I just have a couple of questions off of the presentation. My number one, in the beginning of the PowerPoint, it had a standard registration deadline and an extended registration deadline. Could you go over quickly like the difference between those two?
Sure. So standard registration is the registration up until the date that you can no longer receive a mail-in ballot. And so you can go online, you can go to any of the elections departments, you can fill out the form and drop it off at the elections department. But if you go up to October 16th, you will be in time for them to print you a mail-in ballot and to mail it to you. Once you get to the 17th, they're not quite sure there's enough days left for the mail-in ballot to get to you. So extended voter registration, that just means you have to vote in person. Now there's one exception to that. If you do same day voter registration on election day, so November 5th, you will vote what's called a provisional ballot. All the races will be on it. It used to be a provisional ballot was only the federal races, but they don't do that anymore. All your races will show up, but your ballot will be set to the side because they'll say, Stephen came in, we saw his ID, we're pretty sure it's him. Let's just double check to make sure that he is a resident of Clark County. So they just do a quick check and then they count your ballot.
And that's a process that doesn't take too long. That can be like same day. If I'm not registered, I can go into my polling location, same day register, fill the provisional, and by the end of the day, most likely that it'll be counted. I'll be verified and it'll be counted.
Yeah, especially if you do it like say during early voting, because sometimes people will think they're registered to vote when they're not registered to vote and they'll walk in to do early voting. What would happen is the woman or the man, the person that's checking you in would say, it doesn't seem like you're registered to vote. Would you like to register right now? And if you have your DMV issued driver's license or ID, they just take that, they go in, they register you, they give you your card, you vote, and you're done.
Fantastic. Thank you. And as for like the polling centers and polling locations, let's say the person who's not registered on election day, they can go into any location they want, or is it based on like where they live?
Yeah, any of the vote centers can register you same day registration. And one of the reasons why we went to vote centers, because about 10 years ago on election day, you had to go to your precinct. And then people would think they had enough time to get there and get stuck in traffic and then they couldn't vote. So we said, let's adopt the poll book system. It's a computer system so that when I check in, the computer automatically knows who's on my ballot. We also went to vote centers because of intimidation. That there were times, let's say in a heavily Latino neighborhood or a heavily Black neighborhood or any type of neighborhood you can think of, that someone might go to vote in their neighborhood and see a bunch of people with white trucks and Confederate flags. And now I'm thinking, I'm afraid and I don't want to stop and go vote. If that ever happened to you, you can just go to your sample ballot and pick another vote center and go to that vote center. And if you really want to be safe, go to the Galleria Mall or the Boulevard Mall because you're inside and there is security in there. Just walk in and vote there.
And so would you recommend like malls, any other sort of like a school or a church would be better than others in terms of intimidation? Or
so we don't use schools anymore because it's pretty disruptive of the school day, but libraries and community centers and the malls, those are all places that usually have permanent vote centers. But like right now, I'm sure if you drive around, you'll see like in the front of Target or by Home Depot, a big white tent went up. That's a vote center.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And so what if I was intended to vote by mail and either it slipped my mind and I'm not quite sure if I put the ballot in time and I can't find it. And I know I intended to, but I'm not sure it went through. Can I go to a voting center on election day or early voting and have them check, or will just that get me in trouble with the law?
No, so with our mail-in voting rules, you are allowed to ask for help. If you need to have help fill in your, let's say you're disabled and you can't use your hands. You can have a trusted family member or friend help you fill it out. That family member or friend can also either drop your mail-in ballot in the mailbox or even take it to a vote center for you. That is completely legal. What I would recommend if you're going to do mail-in voting is go to the Clark County Elections website, and that's that URL, it's on that front page, and click on what's called Track My Ballot. If you click on Track Your Ballot and you put your information in, it will email you when they're getting ready to send you your mail-in ballot. When your mail-in ballot arrives, they will email you again. When they count your mail-in ballot, they will email you again. I always tell people, once we get past election day, if you have not received a ballot tracks email saying we have your ballot, it's been counted, you're going to want to contact the elections department to see if there was a problem with your ballot.
And is there like a certain time period after the election if I hadn't received that tracker where like past that basically like a deadline to like contact them and let them know?
You should get an email as soon as your mail-in ballot arrives. You should get an email that says we have your mail-in ballot. As far as counting it, that can take up to 5 days. But just be aware that if it says we received your ballot and then after 5 days, you haven't heard anything, it's not giving you another email, call the elections department because they accept mail-in ballots for 3 days after election day as long as it's postmarked by election day. And then there's 2 days for doing what's called curing a ballot. So on those 2 days, if you have contact information available, if there's anything wrong with your ballot, and I know we feel nervous about giving anybody political our cell phone number, but put your cell phone number in there and just check the box where it says keep this private. Because then that way, let's say your ballot got ripped and they need you to come down and fill another one out. If they can just pick up the phone and say, hey, Stephen, your ballot got ripped. Can you come down after work and fill out another one? Done. Now it's fixed. No problem.
And so actually going into that, so I received a call a little bit ago about, that signature verification that you had been discussing, but it was from a number I didn't know. I wasn't sure if it was real or not, and I'm sure I'm probably not alone in that. Is there an easy way to, when they email and when they call for something like that, is there an easy way to know whether or not it's like a scam call or a real call? Is it as simple as the numbers in the back of the sample ballot to like just put them in as contacts in your phone, or is there some other way to go about that?
Right. Now, if you put an email address, it'll say Clark County Elections Department in the subject line as who it's coming from. So it's very easy if you want them just to email you to see that that's where it's coming from. If you don't answer the phone when they call you, they will leave you a voice message and say, this is the Clark County Elections Department. We have an issue with your ballot. Please call us back. So they will let you know that that's who it is.
Dr. Cosgrove, I'm all out of questions. Thank you so much for answering them. Thank you so much for the presentation. Whoever's watching this, if you have any questions, please reach out to myself or Dr. Cosgrove. We'll be happy to answer all your questions. Please, anybody who wishes to vote and is legally able to vote, please, we encourage you to go out there and vote. Thank you very much. Dr. Cosgrove, thank you as well.
Thank you.